Hello, everybody. This is the Jeff Cowan coming to you from thejeffcowan.com with his podcast, Success in Sales and Life, where I'm going to give you tips on how to be just that successful if you're in sales. You're in the profession of sales, this is the podcast for you because I'm going to show you how to maximize the opportunities you have and be the absolute best professional salesperson on the planet. All right, why jack around with it? Let's just be the best. I'm also going to give you some life tips and some other suggestions you can do to have the ultimate great time all throughout your life. Now, we're back here this week. Remember last week I gave you a homework assignment, and what that homework assignment was to determine what type of lifestyle that you wanted. What was it you wanted out of life? What did you want to do? What are the things you wanted to have? I told you to think about how much money it would take to support that, and then to find a product or company that would pay, they'd allow you to represent a product or service that would pay that type of commission to support that lifestyle. And then I asked you to focus on what type of skills you would need to present that product. Then I asked you to think about, are you willing to pay the price to have the lifestyle that you believe that you want for yourself? And then I wanted you to take a look at where you were before you just quit where you were and see if the job that you already have and the company you're working for pays that. So we did that. Now here comes the hard part. Finding the motivation to get out of bed to make it happen. And if you're like me, so many times I'd make lists of my youngest days and I'd say, this is going to be the day, and tomorrow morning I'm going to get up at 5 o'clock and I'm going to set the world on fire, and then the next morning would roll around and I'd hit the snooze button and hit the snooze button and hit the snooze button, and before I knew it was 10 o'clock and I was doing the same thing over. And people have done this all throughout history. There's a famous story about John Adams, our second president, where he was trying to get his law firm off the ground and he had trouble getting out of bed. So one night he sat down and did the exact same thing. He made a list of what he wanted, how he's going to do it, and the whole thing. And the next morning he was going to get up when the rooster crowed at 5 o'clock and he was going to set the world on fire. And then he ended up staying in bed until 10 or 11 o'clock. So what is it that takes people like John Adams, people like myself, people like you, and people all around the world, once they decide what they want, where do they get the motivation to make it happen? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to pull out a pad of paper and a pen. If you don't have that, you need to get it. And if you're listening to this on a podcast, no worry, just listen to it and then go back and listen to it later on today. And do this exercise, okay? Do this exercise. Now, if you're listening to the podcast, you say, well, listen to it twice. What are you talking about? I have found that podcasts are just like movies. Watch it once, fall in love with it. Watch it a second time, you fall in love with it even more, and hear and see things that you didn't see before. Every time you watch it, you reinforce what you liked and usually pick up a couple things that you missed the first couple of times around. So here's what I want you to do. Take that pad of paper, take that pencil, and I want you to write down the most important people in your life. Most important people in your life. Now, if you're like me, you'd do that. I would write down like my kids. That's who's in that picture right there. My kids, my grandkids. I'd certainly write down my wife's name. You can write down as many names as you want, but as long as you have at least one name on that piece of paper, that's good enough, but write down as many as you like, okay? Now, write down as many as you like. Now, once you write them down, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go out and get pictures of those most important people. Now, when I'm saying get pictures, I don't want you to just get everyday type of pictures. I mean, I want you to get pictures that you love looking at with these people. And I want you to get really nice frames and frame them, just like I've done here. Here's my stepdaughter, her husband, and my beautiful grandkids, right? I do the same thing with my wife. I went out and I got pictures of her, okay, like this. I mean, when I say get pictures, you can see this one's a watercolor I had done of her. This is a picture that's framed very, very nicely, very expensively done, and this is what hangs in my office. There's also a life-size rendition of that hangs right outside my bedroom. Now, if you take and look for other places around my house, all around my house, I have pictures of the most important people in my life, and it's certainly around the vanity. Okay, so every morning, here's why I do this. Every morning, from the first thing I see when I get out of bed and walk over to that vanity and start getting ready for work, I see pictures of the people that I'm going to do it for. My wife, my kids, my parents. Okay, these are who I'm doing it for, and as I walk around the house, there's more pictures, more reinforcement. When I get to work, these pictures are in my office, more reinforcement. When I go out on the road, I take small pictures with me and put them on the nightstand, more reinforcement. So I know every single day who I'm getting out of bed for and who I'm creating that lifestyle for. All right, step 2, I want you to take and write down your absolute biggest goals, and I don't care how big they are. I don't care how many people have told you that you're setting your goals too high. You're not. You live in the United States, you live in Canada, you can have whatever you want. So write it down now to help you out. I certainly would put down Indy cars. You know, I love going to Indy car races. I would write down Mediterranean cruise because my wife wants to go on one, so that would be something I would do. I would write down wood floors because that's something I mean, anything that's a goal of yours. Wood floors, that's what we're wanting to put in the house, by the way. Anything that you'd want out of life, you know, those goals, I want you to write those down. And then I want you to do the same thing you did with the pictures of the most important people. I want you to get very nice pictures of these goals, and I want you to frame them, and I want you to hang them around your vanity. I want you to hang them in the hallways of your house. I want you to hang them all through your house. I want them hung pictures of these things all surrounding you, all at work. So now, every day you get out of bed, you know who you're getting out of bed for, and the whole time you're working, you know who you're working for to support that lifestyle for, and you know what goals you're chasing. Now again, I want you to get really nice pictures. For example, here's a picture I took out of the office. It's a very nice, I mean, this is an expensive frame here. Pictures of Indy cars, so I know what it is I'm trying to accomplish. You know, if you were ever to come to my house in Southern California and you walk through it, most people think when they're walking through our house that the artwork we have hanging up is just really nice artwork, and some of it is just that artwork that we like, but a lot of it, you look at it, there's framed pictures of Indy's cars, there's framed pictures of the Mediterranean, there's framed pictures of different things, and it really tells you what we're looking for. We surround ourselves with it, and this is real powerful thing to do, by the way. Let me share a story with you. You know, when I was first getting started out in my business, I lived in a little 350 square foot lofted apartment. Real simple little thing. When you walked in the front door, to the left there were stairs that went up to the loft. Right in front of you was a little sitting area, a little place, a little kitchenette, and a place to hang your coat. If you walked up the stairs to the left when you first came in the door, there was a loft where there was a bed, there was a place for a dresser so I could put my clothes, and there was a restroom and a little vanity. Now this big wall to your left, you could see it anywhere from inside this 350 square foot apartment, and I got things that I wanted to do, pictures of goals that I wanted to accomplish, and I framed them. And I'll never forget, there were 4 pictures of houses, framed pictures of houses I thought I wanted to live in one day. I mean, the square footage, the look, had the floor plans, and I framed them very nicely. And I lived in that place, believe it or not, for the first 13 years I ran my business, all right? So every time I came in and out of that place, I saw these pictures and other things that I wanted to accomplish. Now let's fast forward to about a year ago. You know, since then I've been married, you know, 30 years have passed. And when I moved from Indianapolis out here to Southern California, where my wife and I now live, we shipped a bunch of stuff from my place, and I learned real quick when you get married, the stuff you had in your old place is never going to be displayed in your new place. And I don't get it. I mean, I think everybody should have a neon light that says Budweiser in the living room, but the wife doesn't. So this stuff sat in the garage for years. About a year or so ago, she said, look, we got too much stuff sitting around here. We got to purge. So we put a rule in place in the house. If you've not touched it in a year, it goes out the door. So I started going through this stuff from Indianapolis, and I kid you not, I find a box from that original apartment, that 350 square foot apartment, and one of the boxes is the 4 pictures of the houses. I kid you not, one of the pictures has a picture of a house that looks identical, nearly identical to the house that I'm living in now, down to the square footage and everything. Even has 3 palm trees in the front yard, which is amazing to me because living in Indianapolis, I never thought I'd live in a tropical place like California. So I mean, it's down to the 3 palm trees. It's all right there. This is a very powerful thing to do. I wish we had more time to explain to you why it's powerful, but it is powerful to do. So you're going to write down the most important people. You're going to write down your biggest goals, and you're going to frame pictures of them, put them around your house, around your vanity, and your office, everywhere you go, so you know who you're getting out of bed for, and you know why you're getting out of bed. Now, some of you are sitting there though, and you do that, and you say, well, you know, I do that stuff, but it's not in me to be successful. I don't have what it takes. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not driven. I'm not smart enough. I'm blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, let me tell you how we're going to answer that, and I'm going to prove to you that you are smart enough, you are good looking enough, you don't have to have a college education. If you do have a college education, that's great, but I'm telling you you can. But before I tell you how I can prove that to you, I got to do a big shout out to my sponsor, Lightspeed VT. Now you remember last week I told you Lightspeed VT is out of Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada. You can reach them by calling 702-369-4260, 702-369-4260. Or wait a minute, 702-369-4260. You say, Jeff, why do I want to call them? Because if you're watching this means that you are investing time and probably money in yourself. And you know what Lightspeed VT has? They have a training platform with all the worldwide biggest trainers you can imagine. They've got John Maxwell, they've got Tony Robbins, they've got Dave Anderson, Grant Cardone, my stuff's on there. They have industry specialists. For example, if you're in real estate, they have 15 different real estate specialists with training on there. You can get on there, you give them a call, and it starts for as little as $10 a month, goes up to to whatever you want to pay, depending on what you want. And you not only get to see the videos and the training, but you get to test yourself. Do you really know it? It's a great system. And if you're a business owner and you want to train your people, you can call Lightspeed VT at that same number, tell them that you want a platform of your own that you can put your own training on, and you can buy these other trainers to train your people if you like. Now, if you call in, whether you're a business owner or an individual, you tell them that the Jeff Cowan told you to call, and they're going to do something really special for you. Make sure you mention my name. So, back to this. Again, I wanted you to write down the most important people, get pictures of them, frame it, put it all over your house, write down your most important goals, what it is you want out of life, and frame those as well and put them in the same places. So, but you say, well, you know, I can't do that. You know, I mean, I'm not smart enough. I'm not whatever. Everybody puts me down. Well, here's what I want you to do. On that piece of paper that you wrote those things down on a few seconds ago, I want you to write down the most successful members of your family. Anybody that's in your family. Now, this can be moms, dads, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, cousins, second cousins. It doesn't make a difference. You might even go back a generation. I want you to write down the most successful family members you have. And help you out here, I'll tell you a couple of names I would put down. I put down my Uncle George. My Uncle George was a salesperson. He sold candy products to drugstores and grocery stores and any place that sold for years. I mean, he had a great lifestyle. When he passed away, I think he had a net worth of a few $100,000, had a great house, had a great wife, had great kids, lived life. I'd also put down my Uncle Carl. Uncle Carl, when he passed away, unfortunately at a young age of 52, when he was in 1985, he had a net worth of $6 million. And you say $6 million in today's figures, it doesn't sound like a lot, you know, because we're used to hundreds of millions and billions, but hey, even today, give me $6 million, hey, you know, who wouldn't want $6 million bucks, right? And so anyway, I would write his name down, and how he got his money, by the way, is he owned a grocery store, he owned a few liquor stores. Matter of fact, he owned the largest liquor stores in Indiana by the time he passed. He had a nursery and all kinds of stuff. But I wouldn't put his name down just because of that, because he definitely was a smart businessman, but I'd put it down because after he passed away, dozens of people would approach his widow, my Aunt Betty, and tell her, they'd give her $10 and say, hey, look, one day I was hungry, I couldn't feed myself, I was working for Carl, so he gave me $10 so I could go eat, and I wanted to pay you back. Or another guy, I remember, he walked up to her and gave her $200. He said, I want to give you this because one time when I was in here, Carl knew me, he knew I was struggling, he knew I had 4 kids, me and the wife weren't having such good luck at the time, and we really couldn't even afford to feed ourselves. Carl insisted that I took several carts of groceries and fill them up and take them home. When I refused to do that, he did it himself, brought over 3 or 4 carts of groceries to my house and put them in the cupboard. I never forgot it. Here's the $200. Another guy gave her the title to a car. He said, look, when I was going to law school, it was an hour and a half away. I couldn't afford to live outside of my parents' house to get there. Carl gave me a car. And now that I'm a successful lawyer, I want to give you the title to a brand new car to do whatever you wanted to with. That's why I put his name on there. Now, here's why I wanted you to write these family members down. DNA. You know, you watch the crime shows, you read the newspaper, DNA can tell you, who committed a crime, and even from years and years ago. DNA can also, we've got it to a point now, there's actually a bill in Congress, as I'm sitting here recording this, where they're trying to decide whether to pass it or not and allow you to be able to engineer your kids, because right now, because of DNA, you can engineer your kid's hair color, eye color, skin tone. Do you want an intelligent kid, an athletic kid, one that's got a funny personality? You can engineer all that because DNA will dictate who you are. So you know where I'm going with this. If you have successful family members, I don't care what anybody's told you, it's in your DNA to be successful. And here's what's great about this. Everybody has it in their DNA to be successful. And you say, well, I don't have any immediate family members, no cousins, no aunts, no uncles, brothers and sisters. Well, just go on to Ancestry.com and go back 1 or 2 generations, because Ancestry.com have proven that most people, if they don't have successful people surrounding them right now, at least 1 generation and no further than 2 generations back, you have somebody that's not only successful, but wildly successful. So it is in your DNA to be successful. By the way, I contacted at Ancestry.com and they sent me back a thing and just said I was an ass, but that's okay. They can tell me whatever they want because I know it's in my DNA to be successful. So once I sat down and decided what lifestyle that I wanted, what it was going to take to get it, I then took and got pictures of the people that were important to me, and I put them all around the place so I know I'm getting out of bed. I put pictures of the goals up so I know what it is I'm trying to accomplish, and I realized that people who'd walked before me, whether they were family or not, people who walked before me that have my DNA have already dictated that it's in my DNA to be successful, and it's in your DNA to be successful. And if you want to be successful, you keep coming back to thejeffcowan.com. You come back and you watch this podcast every Tuesday at noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time, and I will continue to give you success tips to make you the most successful salesperson you could ever imagine, making sure and ensuring that you have the lifestyle that you want and you can earn the maximum amount of money that you want. Go to thejeffcowan.com and check out not only this podcast, but check out all the other products we have. I have DVDs, I have online training, I have workshops. Come and see me in one of my workshops. You like this, man? Come to my workshops and I will give you plans to be successful. That's this week's podcast. I hope you enjoyed it because the information on it is solid as a rock. Come back and see me next week. And in the meantime, do me a great big favor. You know what that is? Make it a fantastic week because I'm going to. Thanks, folks. See you soon.